What's up guys, my name is Liam, and today we're going to be taking a look at the highly anticipated WLMouse Beast X. I've been seeing a lot of people, specifically in the mouse modding community, hailing this as their new main or even mouse of the year. So how does this stack up against competition, and more importantly, is it going to be the perfect gaming mouse for you? Let's check it out. Before we get started today, I did want to let you know that WLMouse did send this out to me. However, everything you're going to be seeing in this video is going to be my own words and my own opinions. I just really quickly wanted to show you how the boxing experience goes once you do get this in. Pretty cool in my opinion. You open it up, the mouse will be sitting here on the right side, and then you'll have the dongle sitting here over on the left. And as you first take the mouse out of the packaging, it does not come with any skates on it. It doesn't come with the grips on it either. But inside the box, you do get this user manual, you get a USB-C cable, obviously you're going to get this cube dongle, and then you get this little package inside. It does come with grips. It comes with a set of the PTFE skates. You get a big set and a small set, and then you also do get glass skates included, the big glass skates and the smaller set of glass skates as well. I do feel like this dongle is a really cool touch and it looks great. It obviously is very big and bulky. I have seen a lot of people using the dongle like this where they have the USB-C sitting up, and to my knowledge, I do believe that it is not meant to be used like this. I believe it is meant to be used where the screen is facing up. So just something to keep in mind if you are using it. I would recommend putting it on the desk like that and keeping it as close to the mouse as possible to ensure you are getting the best performance. But what I did notice is as this does kind of sit further back on my desk, when you do have the screen facing up, it is kind of harder to see it and to read what it's saying. So I did find myself kind of having to lean over to look at it. So perhaps something they might want to consider changing in the future. I don't know, maybe adding like a little thing where you can like pop it up, or maybe putting it over here on the front. But aside from that, I don't really have too many complaints about this other than it being bigger. But it is a nice touch that you can add your own images, GIFs onto the screen, and the fact that you get to see where your battery life is at constantly, DPI and polling rate, is honestly a really cool touch in my opinion. So starting over on the bottom of the mouse, I really like the bottom design here. I think the hole cutouts is great, and I personally really appreciate how they did a bigger skate design. So you really have your way with however you want to do it. If you want to add smaller skates, keep the bigger skates on here. There's plenty of real estate if you want to do some type of custom solution. And then aside from that, you just have real simple stuff, the power switch down here at the bottom. The skates that are included, they are actually 100% PTFE skates, which is generally what I prefer. But for whatever reason, whenever you add color to these skates, it does kind of mix up the performance to me. These felt just like a little more muddy when you're making the micro adjustment. When it comes to the actual shell integrity, you know, if you were to push harder on some of these back bars right here, and I do apologize, I got the grips on here so you can't really see what I'm talking about, but there's pictures all over the place. I'll go and throw up an image. It does have these bigger holes on the side. You can get some flex there, but I'll be completely honest with you guys. When I game with this thing, I hold it and my grip is something like this. I don't notice any type of bending or flexing with this mouse at all, so I really do feel like the integrity is great for my grip style and the way that I use it when I'm playing with it. And when it comes to the coating, the buttons, they do feel like they have just a slight bit of texture. I'm not sure if it's just due to the paint or anything like that. I'm not sure if there is any additional coating on here, but I do want to say that the back rear of the shell here, it definitely does feel a lot more slippery. So now to talk about the holes, I'm not sure what type of machining process or what options that they had available when actually creating this. I do kind of wish, I mean, first off, I wish that there were no holes on the side, period, personally. But if they were to do holes, I would prefer them to have the gaps be a little bit smaller. So perhaps to do twice as many slashes, but to have them just overall smaller, I think it might be just a little bit better. For me personally, with my grip style, the holes did irritate me quite a bit. And as you can see, that's why I have the grips on here. Adding the grips does actually make a difference. You still can kind of feel the notchiness of the grooves, but I don't find myself with the way that I was gripping it to where my fingers were sinking too much in the holes or anything like that. So it does actually add just a little bit more of stability when you do include the grips on here. But when it comes to the holes on the back, it's just an absolute W. This is the only mouse that comes with a built-in bottle opener in it. And actually, I'm just joking. I'm not sure if this is a bottle opener or not, but that's the first thing I thought when I looked at it. Maybe I'll give it a shot later on, try it out and see if it does work. I did notice two things though, however. I tried messing around with a bunch of different grip styles. I did find if I was finger tipping it, these holes can, you know, they can kind of be annoying. It's not like a major deal breaker or anything like that. And another thing I'd like to mention is I was playing around with doing an aggressive claw grip. I do feel like this hole is like right in the middle spot, and the bottom of your knuckle does sink into it, and it does feel pretty uncomfortable. But again, not a major deal breaker issue for me, just some things that I personally noticed that I wanted to bring up to you guys. Mouse button 1 and 2, they're actually using Omrons, and they feel really good to me. For all the magnesium mice out there, I really feel like most of the time they have heavier style clicks. They actually do feel a little bit lighter than all the other magnesium mice to me. One thing I do want to mention, however, is I feel like the gap between the buttons right here in the frame, as you can see there, that's a really small gap. So there is a very minimal slight bit of pre-travel, almost none. But then when you do actually activate the button itself, I do feel like it kind of comes in contact with the bottom frame quite a bit in the shell. So it doesn't feel like you have a whole lot of click distance there, but I don't feel like it's too bad. It just felt a little different, a little bit unique to get used to. They do feel and sound just like the optical Omrons. They're on my Ninjutsu Sora. I wasn't able to confirm if they are opticals or not. So first up here, I'll throw up the Ninjutsu to my mic. And now we have the Beast X. So as you can probably tell, they're the ones that are in the Beast X. They sound a little bit more high pitched, probably due to the fact that this is a metallic frame. But again, overall, they sound and they feel very familiar to one another. So all around, really good button experience. You do get just a little bit more pre-travel up in the front, but the middle to the back, all around feels great. Nice consistency. They are pretty easy for me to spam. But as far as the rocking side to side, just absolutely solid. I'm getting like no play left to right. So all around really solid stuff here on the button implementation. For the scroll wheel, they're using the typical TTC Gold encoder, and it feels really good. They are using a slightly larger scroll wheel on here, and it is metallic. I'm not necessarily a fan of metallic scroll wheels. The one good news about this for me, however, is it does kind of have these bigger notches in it, where if you were to compare it to something like the Razer Viper Mini, it has these smaller notches. And I've always struggled with the Razer Viper Mini scroll wheel. I've seen a lot of people love it, but for me, it just feels slippery. With these bigger notches, I do feel like it is more grippy, and I honestly haven't had too many issues with it. You do notice a little bit of slipperiness there, especially if you were to come up and try and activate the scroll wheel from the side. But again, I don't feel like it's that bad of an implementation for being a metal scroll wheel. It honestly is one of the best performing metal scroll wheels out there that I've used so far. And the performance feels really good. You have these small steps. They're a little notchy, but on the lighter side. I was trying to play around with the notches and see if I can get stuck on the notches themselves. If you try really hard, you can, but I didn't notice it being an issue in game. And the center scroll click feels great. It didn't feel too light, didn't feel too heavy, nice and easy to spam and great to use while I was in game. I've seen some people talking about the side buttons, how their side buttons do feel loose, and I must have hit the lottery with the build quality on this thing, because if you were to go from back to front on mine, there's like literally, look at that, there's no play even on the front one, and there's like literally no pre-travel and an absolute minimal post travel. So the side buttons on my copy are just working absolutely flawless, and I really don't see how they can be a whole lot better. So aside from this mouse having holes all over the place, I really do feel like the overall implementation and feeling of this in hand when you're using it in game, especially if you have the side grips on here, has been performing incredibly excellent for me. So let's go ahead and drop the sound, click, and build quality check. One thing that I forgot to mention about the actual frame that I do feel like is a huge improvement is this whole top piece right here. It is just actually one piece, whereas Finalmouse, they do have like a separate top shell piece right here. So I really do prefer mice that use this entire top shell being one piece. I really feel like overall it does give you a more solid and consistent feeling when you're using it. With the grips and with the bigger skates installed, looks like on my scale I got it coming in at approximately 42.2 grams. The weight and balance, it actually feels really good. It does feel like it's just slightly a little bit front heavy, not a major deal breaker or anything. And then on the left to right, it actually does feel really solid as well. When it comes to the software, it looks like something similar to the Ponage Stormbreaker. It was incredibly easy for me to use. And though I'm not currently seeing a setting where you can adjust the bounce time, hopefully that's something that will change in the future. I just came in here to adjust my DPI and the polling rate. These are some of the settings that I've been using for the mouse that have been working best for me. And if you were to come over here to the screen option, this does allow you to upload your own images or GIFs to the actual screen themselves. I did this with a smaller image. It took about 30 seconds to a minute, so it does seem like it takes quite a while. It's really easy just to come down here and switch between your custom option, or if you wanted to go back and switch it to where you can see your battery life, DPI, and stuff like that, you can just do it in this menu right here on the fly. If you were to go into the WLMouse Discord, they actually have a section in there for modding, and to my understanding, there is somebody working on an actual 8K performance for this mouse. I don't want to go too much into detail with it because I don't know any of the official terms of it. It will probably void your warranty and stuff like that. So if you were to look into this, you know, do make sure that you read all the rules about it and you were to use it at your own risk. But it isn't currently out yet. It is something that is in the works right now. So when that does become available, I will be testing it out, and I would love to give you guys my thoughts and opinions on that as soon as I get a chance. So for those of you that regularly watch the channel know that I love modding mice. So I really think that this is a step in the right direction, and it really does kind of elevate the overall value of this for me personally, and it's something that I'm really excited and looking forward to checking out. When it comes to the shape, I've had a bunch of people DMing me and asking me if this is actually like a size between the Finalmouse Starlight-12 Medium and the Small, and as you can pretty much see, it is just basically a clone, but I don't think it's anywhere near the Starlight-12 Small. It actually is just like a modified medium version, and it's literally almost identical to the medium size. So let's go ahead and jump into the shape comparisons so I can show you guys what I'm talking about. So first off, let's throw it up against the Finalmouse Starlight-12. This is the Poseidon in the medium size to see how they stack up against one another. There really is basically only two differences that I noticed between both of these. Starting out over here on the bottom, as you can see, everything looks pretty much identical as far as the curve profile goes and everything. If I were to stack these together on the bottom, you can clearly tell that the Beast X is just slightly a bit wider than the actual medium size itself. And then coming over to the rear profile here on the top, again, just looking at the scale of these are incredibly similar to one another. I do feel like the Starlight-12 Medium is just slightly a bit more rounded on the top, and these are just very minimal changes, but it does kind of make it feel like it sits up just a little bit higher, whereas on the Beast X, it does feel like it's a little bit more flat. The scale on these are pretty much practically identical to one another, and WLMouse is coming out with a smaller version of the Beast X, so I am really looking forward to that. And next up, I'll showcase it against the Finalmouse Starlight-12 Small just really quickly, but all around, as you can see, it is a scaled down, smaller version of the medium, and it is smaller in the Beast X. It is definitely much more narrow. It is shorter on the back. It does have a more narrow profile here at the top, and when it comes to the side, it does slightly sit just a little bit lower than the actual height of the Beast X itself. All right, then finally, we'll throw it up against the Razer Viper Mini Signature Edition, since a lot of people seem to like to compare these to one another. All around, the Razer Viper Mini does feel like a smaller mouse, where the Beast X kind of feels more like a medium-sized mouse. On the bottom side curve profile here, the Viper Mini is much more narrow, and it has a more aggressive curve profile going from the middle to the front and the middle to the back, whereas on the Beast X, it does have that flatter feeling from front to back. The rear of the Razer Viper Mini, it feels much more narrow at the top of the mouse, and it feels more rounded, where the Beast X feels wider and more flat. And over here on the side, you could see the Razer Viper Mini tapers off more aggressively from the top mid hump down to the rear, making it feel shorter in the hands, whereas on the Beast X, it does have a slower, more gradual curve out to the rear. Alright guys, so that about wraps things up on the WLMouse Beast X. The battery life on this has been lasting kind of average with the other 4K mice out there, about 2 to 3 days of normal use with it. And this is for sure going to be staying on my desk as I love the shape, I love the performance of it, and it currently is one of my favorite mice on the market to use. I'm going to be dropping a video very soon of all my favorite mice that have been released this year, as well as updating a tier list and stuff like that for all the releases of 2023. So make sure that you like this video and subscribe to my channel if you're interested in seeing that in the future. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.